Hello and welcome. We got one round left in the Super League Championship group stage. Congratulations, Gabby, on your own crushing.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You too, Randy.
Yeah,
So
I
what
think it's
happens in your group? Yeah, what's going to happen in your
so
group?
I need help. I'm 2-1.
Hmm.
Everybody else in the league that got to 2-1 or better is through to the playoffs, but I
Yeah.
actually need help because if Eric beats Paul, it's a three-way tie at 2-1, and there's no way I can win that tie. If Paul wins a game, then he beats me on game wins. If Paul goes 0-2, I actually lose it on pro points.
Oh, so it actually goes to, and Pro Points is like the third tiebreaker
Fifth,
or
yeah, it's like
fourth?
we've got the
Jeez.
tiebreaker graphic. We can throw that on the screen. It's like the fourth or fifth tiebreaker. I mean, match wins, most game wins, fewest game losses. Yeah, here you look at all the categories.
The
Pro
most
points is
wins, yeah. Game
the
wins, game losses, Pro Points.
fifth column over there. I only played 12 pro tours, and then I left. I joined WotC. I didn't get enough pro points. I didn't know this was going to come up. What is it? 15 years later.
It's okay. It's a little better than one.
Yeah, should have played around it, I guess. Anyway, it felt good to get the win there. You see the tiebreakers. These tiebreakers determine both advancement and also buys, which is very relevant to you because you're through as a group winner, but we already have one 3-0 group winner in Li Tian, who didn't even drop a game. He went 3-0-6-0.
Right. Wow,
You're
did he
3-0
really 3060? Jeez.
3-0-6-0 with Rally.
Beast.
Your 3-0 is 2-1, 2-1, 2-1.
Right.
So, yeah, there you see 4-game wins, 0-game losses on the top line for Li Tian. You have 2-game losses, and you went 2-1 today. So, you're 3-0. If Eric beats Paul, you get a bye. If Paul
Gotcha. Okay,
beats
that's what happens.
Eric, yeah, if Paul beats Eric, however, Paul will be 3-0. Paul will have at least 6-game wins. He'll have fewer game losses. Even if Eric takes a game off of him, he'll win it on the fewest game losses tiebreaker. So
Mhm.
you're rooting for Eric, and I'm rooting
You're
for
rooting for Cheon.
yes. And mine is crystal clean. If Cheon wins, I'm through because Eric falls to 1 and 2. If Cheon loses, then Eric and Paul both beat me on tiebreakers.
Okay, so we have an interesting match right here.
We do. We got 2
What
playoff
to say?
spots and a bye. All come down to this final match.
That's pretty sweet that there's so much writing on this one last match.
I agree. It has certainly been a fun night, but a little more adventurous than maybe I had planned for. But we're here. It's been awesome. We've got a lot of good players through to the playoffs either way, and you will certainly be there. The only question is whether you have to play. Your question is whether you have to play in the first round.
Yeah, it would be very nice to have a bye again. I loved
I
it
think
last time. It worked out great.
yes. Yeah, and what you're 8-0 now? Can we
Yeah.
pause for a minute and talk about this? 8-0 in Super League action. That's insane. 2 different 3-0 group stages and the
That's
2
really
playoff wins.
just unexpected for me too. Yeah, didn't really expect it. It looks like the decks that I've picked so far have been very good calls, even though they were a little janky and unexpected.
Well, that's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah.
That's why they were unexpected.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean,
awesome.
especially goblins, but yeah, that deck was great.
Yeah, I probably butchered my first game there, didn't I? Against Cedric. I mean, I know Cedric obviously failed to count to 10, and like he thought he had 10 power and that he could just clear a blocker and attack. I saw him in the chat. I don't know how much of the Midco chat you guys could see on the stream.
We could see the chat. We could see that there was chat happening. We couldn't see what was actually going on, but even just from the play perspective, we saw like the click, 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 pause.
Yeah, no, he was like, "Oh God," was the first line, and then it was he thought he had 10 power. He thought that after between the counter and the 3 power on, he thought he had 10, and he thought it was just a kill. The game gets complicated. I mean, I think he's a favored if he doesn't do it that way. If he holds his Dromoka's command and then kills my flyer mid combat,
yeah.
Like, well, he has to do it mid-combat, and I think he's probably a favorite from there. Like, if he kills it on his turn, I can obviously bring it back with Hooting Mandrels. But if he waits for mid-combat, then he gets a whole nother attack, and I don't know that I can survive 2 attacks.
Right. That's exactly what the
slow.
casters were saying, too, because the casters were looking at this, and they were saying, well, if he top decks Dromoka's command, he could potentially kill him here. No, wait, they're short.
They did the same.
He's short 1. Yeah, no, they called it. They were like Cheon did, I think. He was like, Dromoka's command would be sick right here. Wait, it's not lethal. And he draws it, and then all of this goes down. Yeah.
How bad did they roast me for my attacking into that hanger back? That was just terrible, right?
When was this?
It was like turn 2. My first attack phase was turn 3. I attacked with Flame
Was it
Wake
the
and
first
Abbott.
game?
Yeah, the same game.
I missed for the first like couple turns of the last game.
Yeah, it was the same game where Seth eventually does the math wrong. But I attacked into a hanger back and basically I ran over it because I played a Tarkus command and triggered prowess on my Abbot. But then there's these stupid flyers that are potentially available as blockers. If I just never ever attack with Abbot and just go all in on the Phoenix,
right?
Yeah, I would have killed him on the previous turn with Become Immense Team or Battle Rage. He wouldn't have had the two. It's only because he had the two Thopters that I couldn't just trample over the Wingmate Rock for lethal.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure attacking into that hanger back was just terrible.
Yeah, it sounds not good. I missed the first like 4 turns of that game.
Yeah, I just looked at the board a turn later. I'm like, why on earth did I attack there? I mean, it felt like, I wanted to play my Tarkus command anyway, just because I wanted to spend the mana and get the card in my yard. So I'm like, I can kill his creature. Well, you don't actually want to kill him.
You don't actually want it then. Stay there on the ground where you belong.
Worked out. So let's get down to the last match. 1 match left, 2 playoff spots and a bye on the line. It's coming right up.
Let's do this.
Welcome to round 6. Eric Froehlich is 1-1, but he's got some pretty good tiebreakers. If he gets to 2-1, he will advance to the playoffs. Paul Cheon has actually already clinched a spot in the playoffs, but if he gets to 3-0, he wins a bye. Dark Jeskai versus Esper Control, 2 great players. This should be a fun one.
How do you think this matchup goes?
I kind of think I like the Jeskai side of it. It's tough. Like, the different builds of Esper, some of them can be good, some of them can be bad. I think it's close-ish. It's not a blowout matchup. It's not like, Eldrazi versus Green. It's not even like my Atarka Red was supposed to be really good against Paul. That's the one loss that I have, and may prove to be fatal. We'll see how this plays out. Eric took a mulligan, obviously.
Looks like Eric took a mulligan. But his 6 looks very good.
It does, and Paul's hand doesn't look great.
Not particularly, no. I mean, the Anticipate might find something interesting, but...
Right.
The duress is pretty good against like Kolaghan's command. The other end doesn't really do a whole lot. So far, Mantis, that's probably like the best thing it can take.
Yeah, neither hand is perfect because neither hand has a turn 2 Jace.
What happened to Is It Oreos? How's this Dark Jeskai now? Ooh, Tassiger's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Eric doesn't have the Jace, but Soulfire Grandmaster is a totally fine turn 2 play. You just want to get on the board against this Esper deck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and it's Paul drew an Ultimate Prize. He didn't have that before, right? He drew that right
Yeah,
now?
He's drawn spells, which is nice for him. Jace. That had been a 7-card hand, Eric would have had that on turn 2, but 6-card hand probably goes for Mantis Rider here.
Yeah, it's a little spooky going into this much open mana, but I feel like you have to get on the board against this deck.
I mean, he's going to have to slog his way through it, right? 1 for 1, 1 for 1.
Yeah. It looks
Tassiger is a super mana. Tassiger does get to be a super mana efficient follow-up later, so.
Right. So it's just Smoldering Marsh. Yeah, Mantis that's about to eat Clash of Wells. There you go. Good night, sweet Mantis. Yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to work through them. It's going to have to happen anyway.
I think that's right. I mean, if he had instants that he could actually, pick a fight on Paul's end step, that'd be different, but the way his deck, the way his draw is set up, I like the way Eric's played it. Now, Paul's out of lands.
Yeah.
He decides to hold up the 3 mana. He does have another Clash of Wells.
Well, he gets to counter pretty much anything Eric does here.
Yeah, I guess anything.
I guess if you play Jace, you can't. Right?
Yeah, Jace does beat Clash of Wells. You can only sink it for 2.
I don't know if you want to play Jace here. Oh wow, he is playing Jace.
Yeah, I like it.
So good.
I mean, Clash of Wills is a very relevant card. He just saw one. He knows there's more potentially.
Right. I mean, he sees Paul pinched on mana too. So.
True. Dig, Ojutai's Command, and I didn't quite hear the third
Ruinous
card.
Path.
Oh, Ruinous Path. But so Dig is the choice.
Yeah, so he took a Dig, which is pretty good. He didn't find the land though.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting to the point of the game where I think Paul would have taken a land out of anything in that
Totally.
in top 3 if he would have seen anything.
100% agree. Straw Step didn't deliver the land either. Now he sees the Tassiger. I mean, no choice, but he's got to try to make a plan.
Taking the Kolaghan's Command is pretty good, though. Right, and now he takes Silk Wrap.
Well, he top-decked the Silk Wrap after the Anticipate. Right. That was right on schedule. He didn't find a land or a Jace answer in that Anticipate, but his Draw Step saved him. Well, saved him short term. This Tassiger threatens to be pretty good.
Right, but now Paul is tapped out, and, Eric knows that, he's safe to resolve whatever he wants at this point.
Paul desperately needs a land. If he draws a land for Utter End here, I kind of like his spot.
Yeah, I agree, especially with Dig and No Takes Command in hand. But now Eric here has both the Tassiger and the ability to activate it, so... Oh, there's a land.
Yep. That is what Paul needed. Yeah, he ships the turn. Eric's going to tap out to activate Tassiger. I think Paul should just take this opportunity to blast it, right?
Yeah. I think
Did Eric whiff? Eric milled land, and whiffed. Now he draws Crackling Doom, which does absolutely nothing at this point in the game.
Wow.
We may have just turned the corner, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Official turning of the corner has been called. That was brutal. Wow.
That was brutal. He milled land, then he top decked a dead Crackling Doom. Right. Now Paul has a window to dig through time. Wow.
That was wow. Eric was looking really good in this game.
Another dig, a Jace, lands, and a complete disregard. Takes the Jace and the dig.
Another
Jace. Everything is coming up Cheon in this game.
Backup Jace, no big deal.
Yeah, Eric did nothing, so no reason to leave up Clash of Wills mana. Let's just try to get something on the board.
You can put Eric on having either, this, which is fine, or completely dead spells, which is basically what Crackling Doom is right here.
It's funny, though. Paul's played this turn where he gets to go Jace into whatever, and then second Jace, and Eric's hand actually deals with that. He counters the first one, and 0 power is the largest power Paul controls for Crackling Doom.
Yeah, so Eric chose draw a card and counter off of that. So this actually looks pretty nice, especially with Paul being tapped out.
I guess we didn't get very far around that corner, did we?
There you go. So down goes the Jace. In comes new Jace.
New Jace. Paul has a Silk Wrap, but that a Mantis Rider may stick, and Paul does not currently have an answer to Mantis Rider. I mean, whatever. He's on 17. He's got another dig. I still like Paul's side.
Time, though. That's basically an answer to Mantis Rider.
Yeah, I still like Paul's side of this matchup, but Eric's last couple of draws have been kind of as good as they could be.
Yeah, I mean, for a split second, it kind of looked like he was almost locked out of the game, but it looks like he's clawing his way back in. We know that this Jace is going to stick around, so that's a problem. The Jace could have definitely helped. So Paul is choosing to dig right now?
Is that correct? Dig through time. Wow.
So makes us dig.
Jace, Delta, Ruinous Path, Scour, Shambling Vents, Swamp, Utter End. He actually has to take a land.
He has to take a land.
Silk Wrap.
He has to take a land.
He has to Silk Wrap here, right?
Yeah, no, he can't let this Jace flip. Yeah, so he takes the Delta. So it was that between that and the Swamp, so he takes the Delta. And now he has a choice of whatever spell he wants.
How much main deck permission does Eric have that he's playing around by doing this way? Eric has 3 Dispels, but they're live.
Yeah, they are. Let me pull up deck list.
I don't see... There's not like there's a Disdainful Strike. I'm not sure why Paul did this here.
Yeah, I
mean, he clearly wanted to get off the dig, but he gave away half the value of the dig.
There was nothing to punish him. There was nothing to punish him at instant speed, except the Dispel, but at that point, doing it made face
he wasn't playing around Dispel. It's just, I mean, maybe it's the tempo of being able to get it off. I don't know. It seems like if he plays the Silk Wrap, he doesn't get to dig this turn cycle.
Also, he's forced to take a land, which I think he might be fine taking. He's probably fine taking it anyway, but it puts him in the position where he has to do that.
That's precisely my point. I'm not sure he wanted to take a land there because he had a Shambling Vet he could play tapped. It's pretty good though. Wow. Now Eric Froehlich is land, and the
Yep.
corner's starting to recede into the distance again.
Polluted Delta Flooded Strand not really cutting it.
He's kind of all in on this Mantis Rider, but it's a 4-turn clock. Yeah, there's Ugin that Paul is 1 land away from. He's got a Clash. He's got Ojutai's Command. He can gain life by attacking with Shambling Vent. I mean, Ugin is not quite going to come into play next turn because the Shambling Vent comes into play tapped, but we're almost there.
Yeah. Is there anything that Eric could draw here? Outer End. What's the best that does? Nothing?
Kills Jace.
That's not good enough.
I mean, Eric is technically ahead on board, right? 3 turns from now, he just wins the game with Mantis Rider.
Sure.
Paul's just going to gain life, I guess.
Yeah, gain left, draw a card.
Sure.
Yep.
Good enough. He even found the untapped land to play the Ugin now. Yeah, there are no permission spells in Eric's deck that can stop an Ugin.
Yeah, no.
Ojutai's Command doesn't stop it. Dispel doesn't stop it.
Mm-mm.
He can burn it afterwards, but whatever.
I assume that there's a bunch of, Disdainful Stroke in the sideboard, postboard. Just 2, and not even that many. Yeah, so here comes Ugin. Pretty much going to lock out this game.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
plus, kill your Mantis Rider. I mean, Eric is going to exile it with Utter End, presumably.
Utter End, I guess if he top decks a Mantis Rider, I guess Paul also has these Shambling Vents, so it's not like he's going to die to these Mantis, like if he were to top deck a Mantis Rider right here.
Yep.
It's not like he can even put away the game very quickly, because these Shambling Vents can even suicide if they need to gain some life.
Eric chooses to Utter End Silk Wrap.
Okay.
I like this. I didn't see this, but it's obviously
great.
Right.
So then, flip, Utter End, kill the Ugin. Now you have a Jace.
That's just strictly better than what we were talking about.
Eric's so good.
Pretty good at Magic, yeah. This line's not super complicated. We should have seen it, I think.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, obviously Eric now gets to untap. He gets to flash. He gets to flip his Jace. He gets to flash back the Utter End and still kill the Ugin.
Huh. So we get to buy back. Eric's going to get to buy back the Utter End.
Does that work? Doesn't flashback trump the...
Oh, no, flashback. You're right. It doesn't work. Oh, that was almost really exciting.
Yeah, so Utter End does dispatch Ugin. Sulfar Grandmaster comes down. Eric has a Jace. Again, he's like, I could try to claw my way back into this, but Grandmaster actually just has to chump block Shambling Vents or Jace is dead. Which one permanent do you want, Eric?
Not just that, but we know that there's another.
He says keep the Grandmaster.
So, yeah.
We know that, yeah. I think Eric's right that Grandmaster's more important, because if he can get buyback going on something sitting on top of his deck...
Yeah, I was gonna say it does mean that whatever Eric top decks that's a non-creature spell that he can buy back is pretty powerful.
Yeah, Cheon's like, nope. Ultimate price, kill it dead. Don't want to find out what the spell in your hand is.
Yeah, so Eric still gets to buy back, impulse, get it back, but this is a very low impact spell. It's not really gonna make or break anything.
Are we actually gonna see the Awaken on that Scatter to the Winds?
I think there's a chance.
We might see it.
He's not scared of tapping out. Like, what's the worst that could happen here from Eric's hand? There's one spell and he's gonna get to see it.
Well, I mean, you sit on Scatter the Winds, and as soon as Eric casts something you care about, I think you turn a land into a Stalking Stones.
Yeah.
Maybe? Nah. Attack with Shambling Vent, apparently, is the play.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to work, because Eric's next card has Buyback and Fiery Impulse.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That mana is flashing back Dig Through Time.
Oh, there you go. That.
Anticipate, Clash, Majoring Network, Scatter. Takes Scatter and Anticipate. Yeah, didn't want to leave 6 mana up. Flashing back Dig Through Time does seem better.
Yeah.
Eric draws more land. Yeah, and Cheon just pulling farther and farther ahead. It's hard to imagine how Eric comes back from here.
Yeah, definitely.
2 counters of Utter End and Anticipate and an active Jace. That's all, and 2 Shambling Vents. This game is over.
I've been so impressed with this card, Shambling Vents. It's so... Oh, there you go.
Yeah, now Paul just
takes care of the first Shambling Vents. But there's another one sitting behind. And a ton of other things for Paul.
Right. I mean, that Shambling Vents was not important enough for Paul for him to even use one of his 2 counterspells on, so...
Yeah, he snapped it off. He was like, goodbye.
Yeah, done. I got another one. I got more where you came from. Now, Jace, he has to decide how he wants to deal with. Again, Awaken on Scatter is an option.
I think that might be happening right now. I think that might be happening.
I kind of
like that Eric has nothing.
The thing is, he can put those 3+1/+1 counters onto the Shambling Vent. Now he's got 5 power lifelink Shambling Vent.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I mean, or he can turn a different land if he wants to diversify, but...
How can Eric even kill a Shambling Vent that's that big? Can he? No, it's not land.
Oh, right, of course.
Oh, Crackling Doom. Yeah, I guess you could kill it with Crackling Doom. There's
so
only 2 in the deck, though.
Paul diversifies. He does not put the counters on the Shambling Vent. He puts them on planes. All these weird little micro decisions with the Esper deck that don't actually really matter.
Right.
I mean, the number of games that get decided on these details is pretty small. Still a right answer. We're still gamers who want to find the right answer.
I would have really liked to see those counters in the Shambling Vent. Go, go, go!
You can still Planar Outburst and put counters on the Shambling Vent.
That's true. How big is the Awaken land from Planar Outburst? 4?
I think it's a 4/4.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty big Shambling Vent. The Planar Outburst for literal no value.
Sometimes you need to summon a creature.
Yep.
These Fiery Impulses with Spell Mastery are in fact taking down all Paul's land creatures.
Probably just lets it go. What does he care, you know?
Eric is empty-handed. Paul's got 4 threats. It's only the 1 counterspell, though. I think I would just let this go. You've still got a Shambling Vent. You don't want to spend your only counterspell.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think he just lets it go, and he did. Now Plains is down, but he doesn't even care. He can just play up Nyxlis here, draw a million cards. He still has a Shambling Vent that can start attacking, has an active Jace, and is sitting on a counterspell. The interaction between Shambling Vent gaining you life and Nyxlis, drawing you cards with the life that you gain is pretty nice.
Eric draws Dig Through Time. He has to hope against hope that somehow Paul Cheon does not have any counterspells in his hand.
Do you just do it now, or do you wait to try to tap out Cheon during his turn?
I think you do it upkeep. I mean, he could do it now because he could find like a Mantis Rider, but yeah, he just says go. Doesn't go for upkeep. I think he's going to go for end step. He may also just try to wait and save up multiple threats, but he's falling so far behind every turn. I think you have to just hope Cheon has somehow drawn bricks.
Yeah.
And that this dig will resolve.
That's so tough to hope for when your opponent has 6 cards in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess Cheon's just going to pass here. Eric's probably going to try to... Oh, yeah, no. Such discipline. He chooses not to go for it. So I think Eric is hoping a draw or like wait for before he fires off this Dig Through Time. Maybe a turn where Paul's not going to be tapped out anytime soon. Is he just like looking for more resources so he can pick a fight?
I mean, Eric could draw a
dispel. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that when Paul goes for this Dig Through Time, Eric is probably going to respond with his own. Yeah, now he's going to respond. He was maybe hoping Paul would tap down for a dig. Paul left up exactly the 3 he needed for scatter. So, I mean, Eric found a reasonable spot to try to go for this. He maximizes his chances of having it resolved. But once that gets scattered, Eric's done.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good window. I mean, he could... Yeah, you're completely right. The best he can hope for in this spot is just... Maybe he doesn't have a counter. Maybe you get to dig through time and sneak back into the game. But it's looking pretty grim at that point. So what do you do if these players? What are they currently boarding?
Well, it's a lot of cards. I mean, anytime you have an Esper control deck or any kind of control deck like this, there's usually very few creatures in it, and so anybody who's got main deck creature spells. I mean, Eric has a main deck roast. He's got a lot of kind of garbagey creature removal spells he wants to be able to put in the graveyard. His sideboard has Duresses that are spectacular in this matchup. He has Disdainful Strokes, which are also spectacular in this matchup, and fully 2 copies of Felidar Cub, which can kill those Silk Wraps, which can come back with Ojutai's command. So Eric's sideboard is quite good here.
Yeah, Painful Truths too. Looks pretty good right there.
Oh, sure. Eric actually... I know he said something about how like he made a last-minute change in his sideboard. I forget exactly which card. I think he intended to have 3 Disdainful Strokes and then and only 1 Virulent Plague. And Paul's actually going to sort of benefit from Eric not editing after he cut a card from his sideboard. I forget the exact story. I think that's what it was though. Still,
what do you do if you're Paul?
I don't know that Paul's deck changes nearly as much. I do like Surge of Righteousness in this matchup. Like, it kills Mantis Riders, which is nice. Disdainful Stroke is good. But, I mean, Negate, Dispel, these are spells that do things against certain parts of Eric's deck. But Paul's got to worry, like, he can get run over by early Mantis Riders, but he can also play these long control battles, so it's tricky. I think he has to hedge a little bit. Like, he can't open himself up to just getting run over by Mantis Riders, and then at the same time, he sometimes is going to be playing this game against Jaces and Dig Through Time. So
right. It does seem like the card that you lose to very quickly is just a game that kind of runs crazy with a Mantis Rider just chipping you down before you can stabilize. What do you think of Eric's hand? He doesn't have a Mantis Rider, but he has a lot of other stuff.
He's got turn 2 Jace. Like, all hands with turn 2 Jace are great.
Yep.
That's just how Standard works right now. Turn 2 Jace, spectacular. I think Paul is also happy with his hand, but it's not as good as Eric's. I mean, because Paul's hand is good against many things. Like, Paul's set up to play a long game. He gets to make all his land drops. He gets to duress something. He can build to Ugin and Dig Through Time, but Paul is soft at both Jace and Mantis Rider with the draw that he kept. I mean, I would totally keep it.
Yeah, no, it seems like a very reasonable keep. It is very nice that the duress is going to be able to take the Dig Through Time.
Yeah.
That looks really good.
That said, it puts it in the graveyard where Jace can still get
That's
to
true.
it.
That's true.
Paul does fire off turn 2 duress.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what am I up against? I assume this is Dig Through Time. Utter End doesn't seem to do anything particularly relevant.
No, I mean, it's kind of an answer to the Ugin that will come much later in this game, so that seems like an easy Dig Through Time at this point.
He actually put a card into Eric's graveyard, which means Eric can flip his Jace if he wants to.
Oh, that's true. It's a little bit of a nombo. It is nice that you just get to get... You want to get that card out of his hand, though.
Yeah, and it's not like Paul's going to stop Eric from flipping his Jace next turn. So
right. So we're going to see a loot.
Pasting the backup Jace, it looks like. Yeah, I would. All the other cards in Eric's hand are better than that.
Absolutely.
Land 3 and Land 4 are both important. Tasigur, Utter End, and Ojutai's command are all important.
Yeah, so there goes a backup Jace. And you have a window here to resolve Tasigur.
Yeah, he chose not to flip his Jace. It's interesting. I think Eric preferred to have a Merfolk-looter here. He didn't crack his fetch land until after the Jace loot.
Right. I mean, Eric also knows that he has this window right now where it can't get countered. He hasn't seen Paul's hand, but he's on the board and he's quickly on the board. That's pretty good, right? In the situation and in the matchup, I think that's what Eric wants to do. So it was a really good window, good opportunity, and he took it.
Paul just keeps drawing lands. That is...
Mm-hmm.
He needed to draw spells. He kept 4 lands, 2 expensive spells, and a duress. And he's drawn land since then?
To be fair, Paul's lands are very pretty, but they are definitely not what he wants right now. Oh, Mantis Rider, where did that come from?
From the Jace that Eric chose not to flip.
Oh, wow.
Eric said, I'd rather have a Merfolk Looter than a Planeswalker, and Merfolk Looter delivered up Mantis Rider.
Got rewarded.
This is game 2. Our map score is not updated, but Paul Cheon actually leads 1-0. Which is good news for me, but bad news for you.
It's true, but this game is looking very good for Eric right now, so...
It is.
I have confidence. I have faith. Look at this. Played awesome, got rewarded.
Pretty much.
This is a serious clock, too.
Yeah, Paul's at the point where he needs to draw a sweeper.
Oh, yeah.
He basically needs a planar outburst, right?
Yeah, he needs a planar outburst, and he can't awaken it or anything. He just needs to kill all this stuff. And then Jace is going to flip soon, so then you have to deal with Jace.
Jace
Slash... Oh, dig through time. Pretty good.
It's crazy how neither one of these games has been close.
Yeah.
But we're going to game 3.
Oh, we flashback dig through time? Very nice.
Sure. Into 4 untapped mana.
Yep.
Tasik, Painful Truths, Ojutai's Command. Mantis Rider, Duress, Dispel. 7 spells. How would you like to play the next couple
Truths
times,
and Dispel. You don't really need any more creatures at this moment. Wow, another land for Cheon.
Yeah, Paul's done. Fair enough.
Yeah. Feel like it was the exact same thing for Eric last time. It was also land, flooded strand, polluted delta, click, concede.
Paul goes straight to the blue cards. He brought in, I think, an extra Dispel and a Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah, and it looks like he's taking out the planar outbursts.
Interesting.
From what I saw, there's none in the deck anymore. I see that there's still Ruinous Path, the Surge of Righteousness, but those planar outbursts are currently on the side. They were definitely in the main deck a second ago.
Sure. He took out his Silk Wraps, too, which I like. I don't know if Eric brought in the Felidar Cubs, but the fact that Eric can bring in Felidar Cubs means if I'm Paul, I'm very happy to just take out my enchantments and just try to use Surge of Righteousness. You see on top of his 2-slot there.
Right.
Surge of Righteousness, Utter End, Ugin. Try to kill creatures with those.
I think at a certain point you're playing that game of, I think you think that I'll bring this, so I won't do that. And I think Felidar Cub falls strictly within that area. I completely agree.
Interesting, though.
I don't want them in there.
Paul did get run over by a turn 2 Jace that game. Silk Wrap would have dealt with that. There were no Cubs.
Were you able to see if there were any right now?
I didn't see. Eric submitted too fast. I didn't think to look.
Yeah, I didn't see. Who knows? Oh, I'm interested to know if they were in there.
Yeah, to go back and watch the video.
Yeah.
Paul Cheon earns a bye if he can win this game 3, meaning you'll have to play in the first round.
Yep.
Eric Froehlich earns a spot in the playoffs if he wins this game 3, relegating me to merely commentary status for next week. I don't want to be just a commentator yet. Dispel, Ruinous Path, and 5 lands.
Wow, that hand does not look very good. Yeah, he mulliganed.
Okay, that one's better. 3 land, 3 spell.
This is acceptable.
Eric has turn 2 Jace, and not a lot else.
Yeah.
Ultimate Price can kill the turn 2 Jace. This game is totally unclear. Like, Paul will pass the removal check when Eric plays turn 2 Jace, and then we'll just have to see how things evolve from there. Which is probably edge Paul, right? If the game's
it's tough because Utter End is a card that you want later in the game, not at the beginning. It has just not a lot of impact in the first couple turns. And so, you snap trade that, you want a Mantis Rider, but, this isn't going to matter until much later in the game. So, Eric, I think you have to keep this hand, and your Jace is going to die, and then you just really, really, really need a... There it is! There it is! That's a Mantis Rider! I'm so sure it is.
It is. That is a good draw.
That's exactly what you're looking for.
Now, how does Eric sequence his lands here? Where's this red mana coming from?
It's not.
No, you can't get red mana with Flooded Stream.
It's not coming, yeah. That's tough. This hand also didn't have red mana. Yeah, I guess you're just hoping for...
There's the red mana.
Yeah, there you go.
Polluted Delta off the top.
Yeah.
So now he's got turn 2 Jace, and by fetching that basic on turn 1, he set himself up where if he top decked a fetch land
Polluted
capable of getting red mana,
Smoldering
then...
Marsh is going to come in on top, yeah. So there goes the Jace.
Ooh, Paul draws stage to the zone. Yeah, run
It does leave you a little vulnerable to the turn where Eric can untap right here and play a Mantis Rider, but I think getting the Jace on board is just good enough, yeah.
So you take 3. It's not the end of the world. Take 3, untap, and disregard it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Kolagon's command is interesting. It's gonna help if it resolves, it's gonna help buy back this Mantis Rider. Oh no, disregard exiles it.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, Paul can even play this if he wants to, where he leaves up Occupy's command.
Dig through time.
Yeah. Nice draw. Now, does Paul want to just kill Mantis Rider main phase? Or leave up disregard plus Ojutai's command? If he doesn't do it main phase, he leaves himself vulnerable to Dispel.
Right.
I feel like killing that Mantis Rider is kind of important here.
I guess if you don't... I guess if you pass, you're holding Ojutai's command to maybe counter like a Tasigur. Yeah.
Tazigur's exactly who I was thinking of. Boy, that's a tricky spot for Paul.
Yeah. I think he's
just
going to
go main phase.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that seems very reasonable.
Against Eric's draw, that works out great.
It's so bad if it's Dispel. It's so bad if it is.
Right. Eric does get to exile the Jace, though, with his other end.
You think he'd rather do that than Kolagon's command, kill the Jace, get back his... Or there's nothing he can get back. Yeah, I guess that maybe can make Paul discard?
There's a Jace in Eric's yard, right?
Yes, there is. So he can
the Mantis Rider got exiled. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Kolagon's command, 2 damage and regrow is better than Utter End.
You could potentially have him discard too. You know, he hasn't... You're probably going to get a spell when you do that. But getting the Jace back seems very important right here.
Yeah, Eric actually took some time to think there.
Yeah.
Tell it's a tricky spot.
I'm looking forward to see what this is. Okay, so it is Kolagon's command, and I think it's
got to be regrow Jace, right? No, it's discard a card.
Okay, interesting.
Wow. The discard's got to be Ojutai's command.
Yeah. So he is going to get a very relevant spell right here. Unfortunately,
you're right.
He doesn't get the Jace back, right? But dig through time still left in hand.
Yeah, I think Eric was pretty sure he could get a decent spell. The question was, is that better than regrowing a Jace?
Right.
He has decided it is. Got an Ojutai's command. That's pretty good.
Utter End.
Wow, now it's Utter End and Ojutai's command versus Utter End dig through time. But Eric now has Dragon Master Outcast, along with lands 5 and 6 in his hand.
So here, Eric, do you just play the Outcast right here?
I think I do, command?
Yeah, I think...
Play Outcast, leave up Ojutai's command. Hope your opponent doesn't have dig through time. I mean, Eric is kind of... I don't know, it's close, obviously. It's 2 spells to 3. The dig through time is huge, though. It is...
Oh, wow, he's not gonna. I mean, maybe he wants to play it in the turn where he's closer to just being able to play this guy on tap, get a dragon, as opposed to letting it sit around for, like, you know?
I mean, Eric, that's where he was. He had 5 land.
No, but if he plays it on... It's 6 lands for that thing to trigger. So he needs to have it around for turn 7,
Oh,
basically.
sure. It's not there on his upkeep. Right, right.
Right, so maybe you have it around for one less turn.
Eric has played it your way.
Yeah. So
Paul is
just
been
probably
slow
gonna
rolling
kill
this
it.
dig through time. I think he's
just gonna kill it because he doesn't. Yeah.
yeah, he's gonna go for the other end, knowing that if if Eric does have a dispel, he'll probably defend his Dragon Master, and then Paul will have a window to get off dig through time.
So is Eric gonna draw a card and bring back Jace?
I think so. And if that card is dispel, Eric just wins.
Oh
Card was
yeah.
dig through time, which is still very, very interesting. Now Eric is down to just 1 mana. Paul is pretty sure he doesn't have a dispel, or Dragon Master wouldn't have been exiled. So if I'm Paul, I go for main phase dig here.
Yeah, I agree. This game has been really interesting, by the way.
Super close, super back
Yeah.
and forth.
Oh wow. Okay, ultimate price takes care of that Jace before I can flip. Wow.
And we get to dig.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not going to do it. He's still holding the dig.
Eric's representing Dispel at this moment.
But sure, you just played 2 great instants.
That's true. That's true. So are we... what mode was it? Can we hover over it? Return target trigger from your graveyard to your hand, and target player discards a card. So Paul's gonna dig in response, but
does Paul
he knows
not have
that
dispel? Why is he tapping 3? I thought he had some dispels in his list. Maybe he doesn't have any. He has 1 dispel in his list. You should just tap 2 there, right?
Because you should just tap 2 and then hope to find dispel on whatever card you want to keep.
Wow. Eric hit Disdainful Stroke off his own dig.
Ooh.
Oh my god, this is great for Team Gabby and terrible.
Wow.
For me. Eric has just played circles around Paul Cheon here.
Wow.
Paul sat on that dig through time. It would have resolved. It could have resolved. He finally went for it here, but Eric is able to respond with a dig for Disdainful Stroke.
Wow.
That
was absurd.
Why did I have to lose to Paul last week?
Wow. Yeah, so Paul had, 2 turns of chances to resolve that dig?
Yep.
Yeah.
Instead, Paul got wrecked.
Wow. I mean, it's tough too because Eric had 1 blue mana open every single time, right? And Cheon hasn't seen Eric's hand in a while. So it looked like he could have Dispel. Was there at any point in time where it would have been obvious that he didn't have Dispel? I guess it would have been last turn.
So Eric always had up the mana for Dispel.
Right.
Eric, however, did allow, if he has a Dispel, he had to let Utter End exile a Dragon Master Outcast and let Ultimate Price kill a Jace. Like, is a player with Dispel in his hand really doing that?
Right.
Meanwhile,
that's what I mean.
Eric,
so I think at that point maybe you realize that he doesn't have it.
Oh, by the way, Eric chose not to Disdainful Stroke the dig through time. Since Paul was going to have to discard to the Kolaghan's command that was on the bottom of the stack, Eric actually let the dig through time resolve.
Okay. If you have a... Look at his hand. He has... Utter End is a good answer for anything on board. Just a Disdainful Stroke is a good answer for if he happens to grab another dig, which is exactly what he did. So you don't really care.
Yeah, Eric has... Yeah, so he leaves up Disdainful Stroke and chips the turn.
Where does this main phase anticipate?
Yep.
See what's up.
Scatter to the winds is what's up.
Mantis Rider.
Remember when Eric had nothing in his hand?
Yes.
It was like 2 turns ago. He had nothing. And Paul had a dig through time.
Do you just run out this Mantis Rider here?
I mean, it's just a question of how many things and in what order. Mantis Rider is certainly a plausible thing to do on this turn, but so's Jace. Leading with Duress just seems like the right start.
Yeah.
Just throw the Duress out. It doesn't really turn off any of your other options. You can still do 2 other things. So Duress first, see what's up. Paul is probably going to choose the card for Eric and deny him the knowledge of what his last card is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Scatter to the Winds on Duress. Makes sense.
Which seems very reasonable, yeah. It does give Eric a chance right here to do whatever he wants, which includes a Jace and passing the turn, it seems.
Yeah, he apologized. Eric is not interested in letting down his Disdainful Stroke guard.
Especially if Paul countered this, you can assume that the last card left in hand has to be good. Or for the most part. I mean, you can guess.
Yeah, it's
relatively speaking, it's probably good. Yeah, so we just get Flooded Strand for Cheon and a pass.
Paul is very patient with his digs.
Well, now it's scary to run it out, too, because he has so many cards in hand at this point.
It's getting better?
And we know he has a counter. It's not getting better. It could get better, I guess, with like a Dispel.
I guess, but your opponent is looting every turn. Like, you're falling half a card behind every turn.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it punish him a little bit ago. I'm not saying it's right. I wonder if that's what he's thinking. He probably wants to wait for a better turn. One where it's kind of the same thing that Eric was doing in the previous game, where he was just hoping to play the dig on a turn where Paul was mostly tapped out and hope that resolves. And we know it's not gonna. Eric's just not gonna tap out for it.
The cat and mouse game continues as Paul has now picked his spot to go through Dig Through Time in response to Mantis Rider, but Eric's been sitting on that Disdainful Stroke mana ever since he found it.
Oh, and he's going to snap it off because he knows Cheon's down to 0 cards.
Indeed.
So, picking for 3, 11. Oh, majoring work is not going to cut it.
So now there's a 4-turn clock, and a Jace that's about to flip, and an Utter End to clean up whatever Paul Cheon might come up with. Sure looks like Group B is ending in a 3-way tie at 2-1. Tassiker joins the team as well. Well, at least I don't lose it on the Pro Points tiebreaker. Paul got a game here, so I actually lose it on game wins. My loss was 0-2. Cheon's loss was 2-1.
The more worthy tiebreaker? Or less
more worthy tiebreaker. Or the less embarrassing tiebreaker, maybe?
Sure.
Now, what does this do for the group, actually? I guess it doesn't really matter since neither guy's going to get a bye. You 3-0'd, Li Shitian 3-0'd. Those are your 2 buys. No tiebreakers required to determine the 2 buys. I'm obviously assuming at this point that Eric is going to finish winning this game in short order.
I'd be very surprised if something went wrong in this game at this point.
I believe technically Paul does still win the group. Yeah, Paul clinches first place in the group, but what he does not get is the bye.
Sure. It's going to game wins, or is that what it's going to right now? Ayo, look at the Felidar Cub.
Felidar Cub did come in. Interesting. I guess Paul won that little dance because he took his Silk Wraps out.
Yep, Islands not doing a whole lot.
So Paul has 5 game wins. Eric also has 5 game wins, but Paul has 3 game losses to Eric's 4 game losses. So Paul beats Eric on fewest game losses to take first place in the group. Not that that actually does anything, but still feels nice, right?
Yeah.
Then it comes down to me versus Eric for the second place spot, and Eric just has more game wins than I do. He has me 5-4.
Right, and that's exactly what this would have changed, right? This outcome would have changed that.
Well, if Paul wins, Eric is 1-2. I beat him.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, so we're slowly ticking down. Cheon at 5. Eric doesn't even need to play anything. He's kind of run out the Felidar Cub. It is a 1-turn clock.
Duress.
So he can definitely duress and send a message.
Yeah, it's all Duress does here.
Message is heard loud and clear.
Like, oh yeah, I was way far behind, wasn't I? I think that's the message. I think it's actually Eric sending the message here.
There you go.
Fro Poker wins the match.
Loud and clear.
Eric was so close to being eliminated from this group at so many times. He was down a game to Cedric last week and rattled off the game 2 win and the game 3 win. He could have actually been eliminated before this week even started had he lost to Cedric last week. It would have just been me and Ced playing for the clean second place. But he came back, he beat Cedric, and then here, down a game to Paul, down the first game to Paul too. He had to come back, and he did. He won both sideboarded games. He won one in the blowout, and this one was super close, and a whole bunch of judgment decisions. And Eric just seemed like he just did everything he needed to do. He represented Dispel and seemed to have Paul a little skittish about playing a dig through time. He then timed his own dig through time such that he could do it as a response to Paul's. Found a disdainful stroke. Didn't even need to use it on the dig right away because Colligon's command
for the second
half
one.
the value of Paul's. He did wind up using Dispel to effectively take out the other half of that dig later, but great play from Eric Froehlich.
Eric played great. Nothing else to say about that.
He's going to be through to the playoffs. He's certainly a force to be reckoned with in that tournament. We can look at the schedule, I think, and kind of update everybody on where everything stands at this point. Paul Cheon does still make the playoffs, and in fact does make the playoffs as the group winner, will be playing in the first round. So you can see here, Lishi Tian, 3-0-6-0. He wins Group A, earns himself a bye at 3-0. Paul Rietzel actually began the day 0-2, but because he beat Josh Utter-Layton and because Lishi Tian beat Chris 2-0, it's actually Paul Rietzel who wins a 3-way tie at 1-2, earns a playoff spot. Yeah, no, he looked so dead with the kind of janky black-white deck that even he wasn't in love with at this point. But he got the win he needed.
Didn't Lee look almost dead for one turn, and then he just had this awesome rally? I was not fully watching the thing. I watched, like, for 1 second, and then I saw that, and I was like, what is going on right now?
One game win from Chris would have actually been enough to win the tiebreaker at 1-2, but it's Paul Rietzel who wins the 3-way tie at 1-2 in that group. So Paul is through to the playoffs. Group C was played next. You beat Patrick Dickman. You're 3-0 and cleanly through. No tiebreaker required. You get a bye. Sean McLaren is the 2-1 player in that group. That group worked out. No ties required. It's a 3-0, a 2-1, a 1-2, and an 0-3. So Sean and Gabby advance. Group B wound up with an 0-3 and 3 players at 2-1. I, unfortunately for me, am the unlucky third place player. So it'll be Eric and Paul through the playoffs. Man, we've got some talent in this finals. We've got the unbeatable Super League player, 8-0 lifetime Gabby Sparks. Then we've got all 4 of our ranked players. Is that right? There are 4 players in this league that are ranked in the top 25 right now, right? Paul, Eric, Sean, and Lee. All 4 of them got through. And then Paul Cheon joins as well. Gold level
that's
pro.
a scary bracket.
That's a lot of talent. This playoffs is going to be awesome next week. 6 great players trying to figure out what to bring in. You and Lee start out with an advantage, which means both of the first round matchups are going to be insane. Like every matchup's going to be insane. We're going to watch all 5 matches. It's single elimination, so just picture a top 8 bracket, and Gabby already won her first round game. Lucian got his first round game, so they're through to the semis. Gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You know what you're gonna play? I mean, obviously you shouldn't tell us what you're gonna play, but do you have a plan already? Is this something you've already started thinking about?
I think so. Yeah, it is something that I've been thinking about. So awesome. I don't know. We'll see. I'm still scheming.
So my plan, I can reveal it at this point. I was gonna run the crazy turbo land deck that Steve Malshowitz posted about.
Oh wow.
I was gonna run it. I don't know if it's any good.
That would have been sweet though.
It looks sweet. It's totally unexpected. And the thing is, all it loses to is a Tarka red. It can never beat a red deck, but who's playing red in that top 8?
Who's going to play red anyway, right?
Right, who's going to play red next week? I was the most likely person to play red next week, probably. I mean, I was the only one to play red.
played red.
You could play red. You've played goblins.
Yeah.
But like max 1 red deck, I would roll the dice.
No, it seems fine. I think it's a fine call. Yeah, for sure. It would have been interesting to say the least.
and ultimately, I would have at least done that, right? That was definitely part of the attraction.
Yeah, get some style points for sure.
Yeah, and I don't play as much standard as a lot of these guys, so it'd be nice to have something a little off the radar, a little unexpected.
Right.
Well, thanks for hanging out, Gabby. Thanks for hanging out with
Thanks for having me on.
There.
This was fun.
this this has been very fun. 1 week left. We determine a Super League champion next week. You guys won't want to miss it. Fresh deck lists and awesome matchups. We will see you then.